This is Mortgage Masterclass. Your host, Josh McGinnis, is the lender who makes your toughest transactions happen when others walk away. Each episode brings you face-to-face with the industry's finest, the builders, realtors, and professionals who are redefining success in today's challenging market. Whether you're a seasoned industry pro looking to elevate your business or simply passionate about smart home buying and investing strategies, Josh delivers your insider's guide to winning. Together, you're not just closing deals, you're discovering possibilities others miss. This is Mortgage Masterclass. And now, here's your host, Josh McGinnis.
Hello, this is Josh McGinnis with the Mortgage Masterclass. And in today's episode, we have a realtor with almost 20 years of experience selling real estate and many more years as an investor, profiting from real estate before getting actually into real estate. You will get market updates. You'll get tips and tricks on how to sell or how to buy. Some really good information to help you if you're in real estate, whether you're a buyer, a seller, an investor, or even another realtor. Welcome to this episode, Grace Frank.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing.
So Grace, what in the world, I always start with this question, what led you into real estate? Because most people fall into real estate.
In investing in the late 80s, early 90s. I've lived all over the country, but my grandfather taught me a long time ago, there's only one time you make your money, and that's when you buy. So I've always had that philosophy, and I've always loved investing. That's how I got into real estate. Investors are one of my top clients, as well as relocation and new construction. But I love listings as well because I have an MBA in marketing. But it's my passion, so it's not work to me.
Well, good. Now, say more about where you make money is when you buy, because I always thought that you made money when you either rented it out or you sold. But
well, how do you sell well if you don't buy well?
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's what I really tell clients, whether they're buying property or selling property. When I look at what they bought it for, I'm like, well, you did well, so we can sell well. And so, I really try to explain to clients it can't be emotional. This is one of the biggest decisions in your life. Real estate is a huge investment, and people need to take it that way. It's not, it's how most people make wealth. That's how most the people in America have made their wealth, is off of real estate. So real estate is an investment. You need to treat it like that. You do not need to be emotional about it. You need to look at it as an investment in your future.
Yeah. I looked into the whole real estate as an investment and part of your retirement. I was a little surprised that 30% of the net worth in America is in real estate.
Yes.
So if you're not a part of that,
right,
it's like working your entire career for the 70%, or you could still do that and own a house, live in a home, and you gain a 30% more in retirement benefits.
Yeah, it's really important. It's a really important aspect of wealth building. And that's why I've always loved it. I really enjoy working with people to help them build their wealth. I have a client that I've worked with. He let me know it was not 14 years, but 17 years last night. But we worked for a long time together, and he's making an exceptional amount of money every month now on his real estate, and net over $40,000 a month.
Yeah.
Because he's just taken this methodical approach, bought well, enhanced the properties tremendously, and has positioned them exceptionally well. So it's fun and exciting to see people grow their wealth.
It is. It can be absolutely free.
Yeah.
Where you have something that's producing money for you.
Yeah.
You can trade time for money.
Yeah.
We all do that.
Right.
We trade time for money. But creating or building an asset,
It's huge.
it's
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
So you've had, though, a pretty varied past. You've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I have over 20 years in the healthcare industry. I was a business development executive for healthcare systems. I've been in the timeshare business. I've been in the resort business. Yeah, I've had a very diverse background.
So how do all of those things kind of play into your role now as a realtor? How do you pull from those past experiences to better serve your clients today?
Well, all of them involve real estate to some degree. And all of them involved extensive, very amazing negotiation skills and contracts. I've been involved in contract negotiations with all of my careers. And I love the deal and I love negotiating and I love the strategy of the deal. So that has been probably one of the biggest elements of my entire career is the deal. I love the deal.
Yeah, that's it's funny. I was looking at a video for another realtor day, and he was talking about the misconception that realtors are just door openers. And, like a lot of the public, I think, does have that perception that realtors just unlock a door for you. And sadly, that is what some do.
Sadly, there's a lot of different career paths in real estate. Obviously, I have an MBA in marketing, so it wasn't, like I just decided to be a realtor. But my education has played a large role in my ability to be a savvy realtor for people. And I've recently had a client say, "So, are you my real estate agent or my realtor?" And I'm like, "Well, there's a lot of different aspects of that to think about. Yes, I'm your real estate agent, but I'm a realtor. I participate in the National Association of Real Estate Agents, which makes you a realtor, and I participate in the Code of Ethics. So that does set us apart. Not everybody has to be a realtor, but it does position you that you do oblige by a Code of Ethics."
I always thought those were just some synonyms.
No.
I did.
It was a very interesting, something new. And it was very interesting just talking to her about that. She goes, and I said, most of what I do is I'm your therapist, I'm your advisor.
Oh, been there.
I'm a strategist. And I really want to make sure that we can get you the best net possible if you're selling your home and the best possible deal possible if you're buying a home.
Yeah.
So it's all about the deal.
So you've had those couch sessions with buyers and sellers. There's some tears to
It is 90% of a good real estate agent's practice is being a good therapist, because being able to stay calm under pressure and work through a situation. I do this all the time. And, I've helped a lot of new agents work through the process of their first couple deals. They're like, "Grace, this is my first deal and I'm nervous." I'm like, "It's okay. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to make your life miserable or to, and so a lot of times on those types of transactions, I would say, "Hey, you did that contract wrong. Let me walk you through this so you do it right,
Yeah.
and not take advantage of them." So that's part of being a really good realtor.
Yeah. Well, as a lender, I see some of those mistakes on contracts, and I'll give you an example. I had one this last week where they did an amendment and it said seller to pay, I think it was $8,000 towards closing costs in lieu of repairing the mold and mildew in the crawl space that was found in the inspection, and refusing to fix the leaky water situation that's causing the problem. And they're going to give that to me.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think.
And they asked me to give that to the underwriter and be like, "Oh, yeah, sure."
It's just, so yeah, in that situation, typically what you do is you have an inspection amendment that the lender doesn't see. And the amendment that you put together in terms of a price change is totally different language.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a good mentor, or if you've never really understood, how you make sure that your wording keeps you out of underwriting mess, then, that's what happens.
Yeah. So you built a team.
I have.
And you've got a good team.
Yeah, I have a very different team. I'm not a typical team leader. I'm not. The agents that I work with, I just don't take on any agent. I really interview people and try to understand what their goals are in life, because I look at them as a partner, and I have a very different type of structure for them that makes it very appealing to be on my team. So I like teams. I like helping people grow, but I look at them more as a partner. And that's really important, and allow them to learn how to grow their business. At the same time, they're helping me support the business of Grace Frank Group.
Yeah.
So it's a real partnership.
Now, growing a team is something that I've seen a lot of agents really struggle with. Because what I see a lot is just a big revolving door.
Well, that's because that's what they look at it. It's they look at themselves as the king, the queen, the rainmaker, and everybody else just a slave. Most of my team members stay with me a long time because they see me as a mentor, a support process, not taking money from their wallet I shouldn't be. Like if they have a buyer that is their sphere of influence, I don't have any part of that in terms of getting money from that transaction. But I still do help them as a mentor, making sure that they're doing things correctly. So the net that a lot of our team members make is a lot higher because of the way I've set my structure up. I've set it up as, let's be partners. I'm here to help you and grow and help you grow. And I like having long-term partners because you learn and you grow with each other and you have deals together and it makes life easier.
So you've really kind of designed your comp plan, which I think that is a big reason why people switch, because they go, well, I'm not getting the mentorship anymore.
Exactly.
And if I was just on my own, I'd make more than I'm making here.
Correct.
You've kind of removed that hurdle, though, that problem, because if they're producing their own business, they get that. You don't get a piece of that pie.
Correct.
So there's kind of no reason financially for a team member to want to leave you.
Yeah, the only thing is that I do require them to list all of their properties with me because listing is very complicated. You know, there's like 300 different.
Don't just put it on the MLS. No, you'll just send the photographer over and say, shoot me the pictures.
Right. Or get the iPhone out. There are 300 tasks to a listing.
Okay, there's 300 tasks maybe to your listing.
Well, that's probably.
Okay.
But, you know, we're very focused on concierge service, the presentation, down to every key in our super boxes has a Grace Frank Group keychain on it. So the minute you open the door, you know that this is different, that this is seamless, that it's focused on every little detail to enhance the listing presentation completely, from brochures to how we do it on social media to how we do, you know, all of our social media campaigns, how our brochures look, how our creative writing. I'm a creative writer. And so I really work hard to tell a story with every listing. It's not just this 4-bedroom, or it's actually creating a story for people to feel themselves there, which I feel is very important.
Well, people buy the dream.
People buy the dream. And we're really focused on the target market of that particular listing, who it is, envisioning who's reading this to ensure that we are having them say, oh, I got to see this. This fits me. So we're really, really focused on that.
Yeah. Now, do you find that it works?
Absolutely.
Like success from
absolutely.
your approach to.
We have very few expired listings. Now, where the market was a year ago in terms of days on market versus today are different, but it depends on the property and it depends on the pricing and it depends on the location and what buyers are focused on right now. There's always a good buyer if you price it correctly, but I always push the envelope because you can always pull back, but you can't push forward. So to me, it's always trying to find the best net and the perfect balance between not overpriced, but not underpriced. So we really try to focus on that. But in the last 6 months, it's been this moving target because there's a lot of dynamics going on between everything that's happening in our environment. And so every week we have to look at, is this working? Is this not working? How do we change the strategy? What do we do here? And that takes a lot of time and energy, but that's what you have to do to be successful in real estate right now.
Yeah. Well, I've seen the emotions of buyers. That's what I deal with buyers more, so that's my experience. But the emotions of buyers change faster, like right now, than almost any other time.
It's a very
and what I mean is like really scared about election, excited about the election, scared about the tariffs, excited about this. It's like back and forth. but it's just, if to me, it feels more than a normal market. On the real estate side, are you seeing the same things as a realtor? Are you seeing different things?
I feel the most important thing right now is that people need to understand that real estate is one of your most incredible investments. And politics or environment are just a flash in the light in the dark. You know, you need to focus on what you really want to do, how you want to get there, and be smart about how you focus on your future with real estate, whatever that is. But you can always make money at real estate. Real estate is always appreciating, but you have to be smart about how you approach it and what you pay for it and how you present it to the public when you're ready to sell it. So the most important thing is that keep focus. And like, I've always been like a mule with blinders on. You know how those mules or those draft horses that just have the blinders and they're just focused on moving ahead. That's what I try to tell people, like
I'm trying to picture you as a mule. Okay.
just keep going.
Did Green Spray really just call herself?
Yes. No, well, I mean, just keep going. Don't let the environment around you get you off course. Yeah. Stay true to your compass and focus and just keep going, but be calculated and strategic about how you're doing it.
Yeah. I see a lot of new investors make that mistake.
Yeah.
They get excited about a property and I go back and go, wait a second, but we talked about your plan. Mm-hmm. Does this property fit your plan? Well, no, but I think it's a great price. I was like, yeah, but it's 55 minutes away from you.
Right.
So your plan was to manage the property. Is that going to impede your plan or strategy? And that's why I always tell them, go back to your plan.
It's very important. And I constantly remind people about that. One of the most interesting strategies, I think, right now, which is really good for younger professionals, is to consider buying a duplex or a triplex for your primary resident. Live in it for a year, have your tenants pay your mortgage, and then after a year, do the thing again. It's a brilliant strategy for young people to get ahead and move towards investing in real estate, but allow that first year to be their primary resident and take advantage of it.
Yeah, I wish I had done that.
I constantly try to tell young people, this is your best strategy.
It's mind-blowing.
It's amazing what you can do over 5 years if you do that strategy.
Yeah. And, I've used the 10-year mark because, for normal couples, buying 3 homes in 10 years is a possibility.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but you got to save. You got,
right.
You can't go on crazy vacations or buy those expensive purses, but you can definitely do it. And then all of a sudden you have 1 house you live in, 2 that are your investments. Mm-hmm. And by the time those are paid off, we're talking about you just set up your entire retirement.
Well, what we always have done until recently, when we decided to create an organic farm, was we would buy a property under value, get it to the point where it was above market value in presentation, live in it for 2 years, and then flip it, and then go on to the next property.
Yeah.
So that's another really good strategy for couples that, have a good knack for design and can take an ordinary house and make it extraordinary, and then allow the value to appreciate over 2 years, and then sell it and take that money and invest it in other real estate and move to the next project.
Yeah.
So I've done that for a long time, and it was, it allowed me to get to the point now where I have an organic farm that's over $1 million.
Yeah, I've had some of your organic produce, Grace. You didn't even know I was a customer, probably. So let's talk about the market in Chattanooga. Mm-hmm. What do you see, coming down the path on the Chattanooga market? What are your predictions?
Well, for many years, we were always the turtle, because I've worked with investors all over the country, and we never had more than a 3% appreciation. And then during COVID, it went up to 20%. And it kind of was like, oh my gosh, like we've always been the slow turtle, we always, and so that kind of took the city by surprise that we had that much appreciation. And really, it was more about demand for our city because we've done a great job of, we have an amazing, fiber optic system,
Yeah.
which when I travel around the country, I'm like, really? This is how bad it is everywhere? We have done an amazing job with setting our beautiful little city up, and I'm one of the biggest cheerleaders for it, with this is an amazing place to live. I moved here from Boulder, Colorado, and I love this better than Boulder, Colorado.
And Boulder, Colorado has a good reputation.
It's just an amazing city. So we've had crazy appreciation. Do I think we're going to continue to have that crazy appreciation? No, I think it's going to pull back to more steady situations. But what I do believe is that we're still well positioned for constant growth and appreciation. You're always going to have good appreciation. We're not going to see that 20%. But purchasing property in the greater Chattanooga area is amazing. I'm also in the Bridgeport area. My farm is in Trenton, Georgia. I think Trenton, Georgia is an amazing little market to look at. There's just a lot of little pockets all over. And farmland is a huge value right now compared to where it's going to be in 10 years from now. So if you are looking for 5 acres, 10 acres, 40 acres, this is the time to buy it because it's going to continue to appreciate. They're not making more land.
Yeah.
So, don't be scared. Get with the right real estate agent and the right lender, and you're an amazing lender. You're an educator, and I try to be an educator, and my whole team are educators. We really believe in, if you educate people and you're a good advisor for them, you have clients for life.
You really do it.
And that's what it's about. It's being of good service. It's not selling, it's serving.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever told you this, but I was working on a kind of like a dream project for a farm community.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you, Beth?
This is up between Hickson and Sunny Daisy on Mowbray Mouth.
Okay, I think I'm talking to that guy and his wife.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Because Kate is... that's
sorry.
Kate's their real...
Yes.
I'm actually talking to, this is not to be on the video, but I'm actually talking to them
at some point about using some of her inheritance to fund his land acquisition and development.
The one that he's also looking at, which will be really a great asset for this, the current Three Gorges project. He's looking at this other land that would be a very good second phase that would also integrate mixed use and commercial in with it.
Yeah, she was telling me about it, and I was like, you guys got to look at this, because she can make so much more money in real estate, and safely, too.
Yeah.
Because, like, if it doesn't sell, you just hold on to it.
Right.
Like your stocks.
Right.
You just hold on to it.
Right. So much more controlling your future versus the future of a corporation.
Yeah.
Look what happened to Elon Musk, 71%,
Yeah, the country gets mad at him. All right, so did I ever tell you about the farm community idea? Or you may know.
Yeah. One of my clients talked to me extensively about that. This has been a big passion of mine. I mean, I have a 40-acre farm with a barndominium with small short-term rental projects on it, a passive solar greenhouse, rainwater catchment. So that's something like true to my passion. And I really believe that the time is here for barndominium communities, that they're either 2-acre tracts or 5-acre tracts, and community resources for people. We kind of have something like that with a project that we're working on with Three Gorges, which is a new community. And it's a 5-acre tract community, hiking trails, climbing at your back door, beautiful brow lot, just lovely environment, close to downtown, 25 minutes to downtown, right off of 27. And it's really an amazing project. So those type of projects are true to my heart, and I live it every day.
Well, I'm going to have to check that out because my little farm vision hasn't come about yet.
Yeah.
But Joe, our mutual friend, Joe his property where he lives, you were his agent. I remember that.
Yeah.
And I was working on because we're doing a VA loan on him, and he owes a large tract of land,
Yeah.
all those other buildings,
Yeah.
the barns,
Right.
everything else like that.
And a lot of people don't understand you could do a VA loan on something like that. They think it's like more of a jumbo loan, but you made it happen, which was amazing. And it's a great property, and he's doing amazing things on it.
Oh yeah. If I'd understood the property,
Yeah.
he got it for a steal, in my opinion.
We worked really hard on that negotiation.
He got it first.
We worked really hard on that negotiation.
It was a great, great deal. Let me look at this. All right, I got a question for you, Grace.
Yeah.
In real estate, emotions get high. We're talking earlier about that, how you kind of play counselor and everything. When those emotions get high and someone's getting fearful or upset or mad even,
Right.
whatever, what are some of the tricks you have or tools you have to help wade through those kind of higher emotions and helping someone feel better about their decision, feel more comfortable about the direction they're going?
Well, the first thing that I tell people, number one is I meditate every morning. I'm a big meditator. Healthy nutrition are very important for balancing a person's life. So I'm very grounded. And the first thing I tell people is, let's just take a deep breath. Let's don't respond right now. Let's just take a half a day, and just calm yourself down. However you do that. If you need to go run, whatever you need to do, let's just don't do anything. Let's just pause and let your emotions rebound. Because the worst thing you can do is respond to something when you're energetically charged emotionally.
Yeah, it almost short circuits your brain.
It's just not smart. So it's easy for people to start battling things off or texting people or saying things, but I always pause. Now, the other thing is that then you need to say, okay, let's talk through this. Like, is this part of your long-term plan?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the cost associated here. Where things really go crazy most of the time on a deal is the inspection. And so there's two aspects of that. Number one, if the seller knew that there were problems and didn't tell that there were problems, and they came up big problems. And I see this so much right now with basements and crawl spaces. It's probably the number one problem in this area.
I see it a lot too.
It's just, and so everybody just needs to pause and say, is there a way to work through this? Is there a solution? And when you do that, you can work through a solution. If there is a solution that's financially feasible. I've seen sellers have to put out $50,000 to resolve their crawl space or their basement issue. And it was a real issue. Because if they would have, and I tell people this a lot, if you have an older house, get an inspection before you put it on the market.
I'm always surprised they just don't do that more.
I really tell people to seriously consider that and go through the list and do most everything that's on that list. So if sellers do that, then they're much better positioned when there is a home inspection that there's not going to be a lot of concern.
Yeah.
But a lot of sellers don't understand that, or agents don't explain that to them. But I do a lot of new construction, and I've done a lot of flips in my life, so I can go through a house and I can tell you pretty quickly, we should really do a pre-listing inspection to catch some things that could be a real big alarm to a buyer. What I'm experiencing recently is a lot of agents are not advising people. They're just being an order taker. And so they're not calming the buyer down and giving them advice. They're just saying, okay, fine, we'll just walk away from this deal. I had a realtor recently that had walked away from 4 deals because he could not keep the buyer calm through the process of the inspection. So, and he said to me, Grace, I'm a new agent. I'm trying to work myself through this. And, I'm trying to be a good advisor, but I'm confused and not sure how to handle it.
Well, at least they were honest.
Yeah.
Like, I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah. So But inspections and keeping people calm through inspections and having enough knowledge about things and having enough advisors that are experts in different areas to come to your side and look at it and give you advice is very important. But keeping people calm and pausing and taking time to think through it and then processing what's important, what's not, is very important. And most people react versus respond.
Yeah. I see that a lot. And the other thing I see people do with anytime somebody gets, upset for, and an upset can mean a lot of things.
A lot of things.
A lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay. Or they get upset. Is people want to almost refute the upsetness and be like, oh, wait, Grace, you don't need to be upset about this. Well, that's never helped anybody calm down in their life.
Oh.
Can you imagine a husband going over and telling his wife, I think you just need to calm down? Well, it wouldn't work. But that's what we do with people when there's conflict.
Right.
In the professional settings, we just say, oh, you don't need to worry about this. Calm down. I call it jump in the crazy boat. Well,
Yeah.
have you ever heard me talking about this?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's true.
It works.
Yeah.
It's just, and what it is, the idea of the crazy boat's only big enough for one person. So if they're upset, just be upset with them. Because what they're trying to say is, hey, I am angry about something. I'm afraid of something. I'm confused about something. We don't know what it is yet, but it's legitimate.
It is.
For them, it's very legitimate. So you just go, I can't believe it either. This is ridiculous. I hate this. And you kind of just go off on it with them. That allows you to get in the crazy boat, then to get out. And then it's like, well, do you want to look at options now that we both agree this is a really, really bad situation? For me, the answer is almost always, well, yeah. I go, okay, well, one, we could just fix the repair issues. I've totaled it up. It's going to be about $650.
Right.
That's when they're going, wait, really? That's it? $650? Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know. You might be able to do it for cheaper. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
But that's easier than a $50,000
Oh yeah.
face the job.
There's a lot of that right now. Trust me. It's like, and so it's a real challenge. Basements and crawl spaces are a real challenge in this market.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about 1031 exchanges.
Oh my.
I think you've done over $150 million in 1031 exchanges.
Yeah, it's the biggest puzzle. I love it. I love 1031 exchanges.
All right. So for people who don't know, what is a 1031 exchange?
So a 1031 exchange basically it's an investment property. It's not your primary residence that you're selling. And instead of paying the capital gains on it, you can basically defer those capital gains by taking those funds and investing them in another property. It's called a like-kind exchange. So after you close on your property, you have 45 days to discover and acknowledge with a 1031 exchange custodian the property that you're considering to purchase. Then you have 180 days total to close. But what I always tell my clients is when we put your property on the market, and sometimes even before that, let's identify some properties. Let's start to look at that. Depending on the size. I had a client 3 years ago that sold 3 marinas. And we had a lot of property to try to find.
I know. I'm thinking like property.
Well, okay, like that's a very vague subject. Like doesn't mean you have to buy a marina to buy. If you sell a marina, you have to buy a marina. It just has to be an investment property.
I think it had to be like a cent price point. That's what I always understood.
It's the total amount of money, but you can buy several. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just have to take care of the total amount, and you can buy several properties. So, but you could buy a farm. You could sell a marina and buy a farm. You could buy a franchise. There's a lot of different options for a 1031 exchange. Like kind doesn't mean it has to be a marina for a marina. It can be a lot of different things. So it's an investment property sale and purchase. But it's timing, and sometimes the timing doesn't work, and you just have to say, because at the end of the day, it has to be a good exchange. If you're just doing it to defer taxes, don't do it. Because I've seen clients that have done that and then they regret what they bought later because they were trying to just not pay taxes.
So that's going back to one of the things we discussed earlier today, which was buy right.
Oh, absolutely.
So-
and if you can't buy right, let it go.
Pay the taxes.
Yeah. It has to be, so it's a very strategic. I have a client that we are selling 2 of his properties and we've been looking for the last 3 months for an exchange, and we've been negotiating things. And at the bottom line is, you know what? If you have to pay the taxes because you don't want to do a wrong deal, but try.
Yeah.
And so, but it's a lot of fun. It's very strategic. It's a chessboard game and I love it.
All right. So here's my favorite 1031 story.
Yeah.
I'll see what you think about it. I'm working with the buyer and buy investment property. And I go, okay, great. Where's the money coming from? Oh, I'm doing a 1031. I was like, okay. So you have another property that you're selling. Oh, I already sold it. Great. When did you sell it? Sold it a few months ago. Okay. Who's doing the 1031 exchange for you? Oh, I will. I went, wait,
You already lost the game.
you're doing it personally. I was wondering when you were telling me that.
You already lost the game.
I know. I was like, oh, buddy, I got some bad news.
Yeah. You're not doing a 1031 exchange?
It's like you're not.
No, because the whole goal the whole key with the 1031 exchange is you have to select your custodian prior to closing.
Yep.
You can do it even as early as a couple hours, but I always say, let's get it done, 10 to 5 days before closing. And I'll give them 2 or 3 custodians that I work with a lot that they can call and talk to and see the rates, because they have different pricing and they have different areas of expertise and guidance. So one of the ones that I really like is Peak out of California, but they're in all the states and they're very good and they're very systematic and efficient. But there's a lot of different 1031 exchange custodians. But the earlier you decide who you want to use and set that account, the better.
Yep.
You cannot do it.
You cannot do it yourself.
No, you can't do it.
Cannot do it after you close.
No, you have to do it prior to your closing.
Yeah.
I was even done it. Well, I'd lose a couple hours before, but that's really pushing it. I always say, let's get this done as early as possible, because if you decide not to do it, you're not going to lose that much money.
All right. Let me ask you about a realtor-lender relationship. What, in your opinion, makes a great realtor-lender relationship?
Honesty.
And what does honesty mean to you?
Well, okay, honesty and being very systematic about how you deal with the buyer. So we had a situation on a listing not too long ago where we had a buyer that really wanted to buy the property. It was a complicated property. It was in a flood zone. It was an older property. It had a lot of land. And it was complicated. But the lender was not focused on upfront getting the actual costs. And this happens a lot when the house previously, the taxes were a lot less than what they're going to be after you purchased a home. And they had purchased the property with cash, had done a ton of renovations. And because they buy it with cash, they didn't have to have flood insurance. So there's 2 things that were happening with this new purchase. The buyer was getting a loan, so they had to have flood insurance. And the taxes were going to change a lot because the value was changing a lot, because there was $250,000 worth of upgrades to the house. So those 2 factors, the lender did not take into account up front when they were giving a good faith estimate about what their monthly payment was going to be. 2 days before closing, when they got the new settlement statement,
2 days.
when they got their new,
Oh my goodness.
they were going to be paying over $500 more a month over their budget, and they had to bail. They couldn't afford it. So
I hear stories like that. It blows my mind.
So the key is, a good relationship is you really do your due diligence early on and you focus on all of these facts, insurance, taxes, because those 2 things can really change the bottom line of what you're paying on a monthly basis.
Yeah. Yeah. I see a lot of lenders not think through the whole deal and then come up with excuses later.
Yeah.
So that they don't look bad.
And try to make it work. And this particular lender really tried to make it work. But at the end of the day,
Oh, we all try to make it
we
work.
couldn't get the payment to where that their goal was. They were $500 over a month. They couldn't do it. Financially, they could not do it.
It's hard to be add flood insurance on a property with somebody who's on a real budget
Yeah.
because they're going in with that budget in mind, and flood insurance is almost always going to bust the budget.
Yeah.
When nobody knows there's.
Well, we made it very clear up front.
Oh, y'all do it?
Oh, on our listing, we absolutely do that.
Good.
Yeah.
Letter never read the listing.
Yeah, we absolutely, on a listing, we're very methodical about details of what's necessary,
Yeah.
And we also explain that the taxes are probably going to go up considerably to the lender. Like, these are two big things that are probably going to change dramatically.
What else makes a great lender-realtor relationship? Anything else come to mind?
Lots of different types of options for people, not just one or two. Being creative, thinking outside the box about, okay, we could do this approach, or let's try this. Or if we negotiated buy down points, here's things in the negotiation that could really help. And if we know up front that type of information, then when we find the right property, we can negotiate stronger, having better understanding of what will make this more successful for this particular buyer.
Yeah. I had a buyer recently I worked with. He was turned down by two other lenders. And it had to do with when he started his job and a couple of other factors with that. And I looked at it and I was like, well, it is a hard stop, but I'm just curious if there's any way around it. And went through the guidelines, found a couple of exceptions, reached out to the borrower and said, hey, would your boss be willing to, say this or say that? Like, because your story is different than what your time card is showing. Mm-hmm. And I just got the whole story, created a letter that the supervisor signed, and then the income was all validated and verified. Mm-hmm. And so here they were like thinking, well, we can't buy a house for 2 more years. And all it took was, 45-ish minutes with some back and forth, and came up with the solution.
Well,
and that was a house.
And that's what you're very good at. You're very good at trying to come up with creative solutions that make a difference, not being able to buy a property versus being able to buy a property.
Yeah. I always feel like there's got to be a way. People might not like the way, but there's got to be a way.
Yeah.
For most people.
For most people, I think there is.
So, and again, yeah, I have had those 430 credit score people, or, somebody comes in, wants to buy a house and they make $1,800 a month.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're not going to be able to.
Yeah.
Not at that level.
Which is sad that there's not a product out there that somebody makes $1,800 a month could not get into a home if they're, into a home that they.
That's a whole other topic. I really wish there was more affordable entry-level type homes, because what we call entry-level homes is really just the average purchase price.
Correct. Which was very sad.
But it's like, where are the true entry-level homes?
They don't exist right now.
They really don't.
No.
But like these places that are just a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, nice little setup.
Yeah.
Perfect for a young professional getting out of college.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big advocate of the tiny home model. Love to work on some neighborhoods like that. A lot of young people don't need the 1,000 square feet. They're fine with 500 to 600 square feet. And you can build a pretty affordable house at 500 to 600 square feet. And it's just very difficult because a lot of the zoning is not designed for that right now. And I hope that...
And Lindsay does not conducive to tiny homes either.
Yeah. I really hope that can get corrected, because it really would help make a big difference with affordability homes available to the community.
Grace, when you think over your career, is there any highlights that kind of jump out at you? Anything that you're really proud of?
Accomplishment?
I think it's working with a lot of my investors that have gotten them a portfolio where they're netting $30,000 to $60,000 a month, and they're totally set up for their retirement.
Yeah.
I really love that, and I'll meet their whole family and their wives will say, Grace, thank you so much for helping us be in this position today.
Yeah. Your face lit up.
Could
you tell?
It was
your face.
it was, I had that moment last year when this has been a client for 17 years, not 14 years, it reminded me yesterday. I see his children grow up, go through college, graduate, become professionals. And his wife and him, we had dinner last New Year's, I think. And she never really comes into town much, but she came into town and she was like, I just wanted to let you know how grateful I am for the help that you've given us to be in this position today. That's the world.
What's been one of your more painful lessons in real estate?
That's a really good question. Painful lessons. Working with people who do not appreciate you and you continue to work with them thinking that you can change them when you can't.
Wow.
And their mode of how they work with you is disrespectful, passive aggressive language, and you continue to think, I can work through this. And 5 years later, you finally say to yourself, life is too short to have a relationship like this, and fire them.
So realtors can fire
Oh, I've done it a lot.
or buyers and sellers.
Absolutely.
I actually had to fire a realtor one time. This realtor would call up and just cuss out like king, and just yell and cuss and just name call and all those other kind of things. And I was like, man, what's going on? We can't do that. His response is, I'm the realtor. I can do whatever the bleep, bleep, bleep I want. I said, you know what? You actually have a great point. You can't. And I wish you the best. You need to find another lender. But you can't get rid of me. I was like, well, yeah, I can, because I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, it's just mutual respect is so important.
Yeah.
It goes a long way. And, I try to tell people that. And I've really worked hard for that with my career. And I try to tell my team that at all times we have to have mutual respect and compassion and focus on service, not what the commission is.
Well, something that I've really appreciated and respect about you is you're a really great problem solver.
Oh, I love problems. I love to figure them out.
Well, yeah, it actually does. I mean, it shows. It seems like it almost excites you. You're
Yeah.
like, okay, now's my time to shine.
It's like, okay, how do we work through this?
How do I get this fixed for me?
Yeah, and that's one of the big things that most people really love about me is I'm a really good problem solver.
Yeah.
It's probably one of my biggest assets, besides being a good negotiator and a really good marketer.
What's one of your craziest stories? Do you have a crazy real estate story that you kind of tell every now and then, or that still makes you laugh or shock and all? Like, oh my God.
Well, I always ask investors, what was your biggest shoulda, coulda, woulda?
Okay.
Because shoulda, coulda, wouldas, you remember them and they impact your future decisions. My biggest shoulda, coulda, woulda was when I had just graduated from college at CSU in Colorado. And I was a big skier. I was a downhill racer. And so I loved Telluride. And this was just when Telluride was just hardly anything.
Oh, no.
And I had the option. I had the option to buy a lot, which now was the base of the gondola for Telluride for $5,000. Oh, didn't do it because I was like, that's a lot of money. I just graduated from college, and that was my biggest shoulda, coulda, woulda.
$5,000.
That close.
And I had an investor recently that I asked that to, and he goes, well, I had the opportunity for $800,000 to buy this piece of property in Nashville, and it just sold last year for $14 million. That's a big shoulda, coulda, woulda. I love the shoulda, coulda, woulda stories.
That's crazy. What else do you want me to ask you about today?
Well, what do I do when I'm not selling real estate?
Oh, yeah.
I'm a writer. I'm actually writing children's books.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go there.
Yeah.
So, Grace, what do you do when you're not selling real estate? I mean, I know you've got the organic farm,
Right.
but I can't remember the name of it.
Land to table.
Land to Table.
Yeah.
Because I live in Black Creek.
Oh.
And
We partnered with Quill Run. We took a lot of our animals to Quill Run and just kept our ducks at the farm because we decided to do more midterm rentals there and not focus on the livestock. I'm a writer.
You're a writer.
I'm a writer.
Okay. What are you writing?
I'm writing children's books and young adult books.
All right.
So my first book series is about Gracie the Goose.
Gracie the Goose.
The Adventures of Gracie the Goose. And she's a real live goose at my farm that bizarrely just showed up one day in the chicken pen. We have no idea where it came from. We eventually got her in with the ducks, so she's like the queen of the ducks and protects the ducks.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, so I've written 10 books now, and I'm getting them in the final form, and I've submitted to a couple of agents to be representing me. So yeah, I'm a children's book writer.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed. I had no idea. I'm learning all sorts of stuff today. That's awesome. What's the best way for somebody to get in touch with you? Yes, always looking to buy, sell. And
Well, our website is gracefrankgroup.com. My email is grace@gracefrankgroup.com. You can always call us 423-355-1538. I've got a great team. We're amazing at a lot of different things. We handle a lot of veterans. We do a lot of new construction. I'm a fourth generation farmer, so we're great at land and farms. And listings, that's one of our fortes, but we love relocation. We have a beautiful relocation guide. So we really have a great team, and we're very diverse. We're into sustainability. We're working with a lot of different developers and builders, and we just love working with people and serving now.
yeah, it is fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this is Grace Frank with the Grace Frank team. I highly recommend you reach out to her and her team if you have any real estate questions or needs. If you're a realtor out there and you're wondering what really good mentorship looks like, I can buy Grace a cup of coffee and pick her brain.
Yeah. I'd love to do that.
If you want to know more about lending and mortgages, reach out to me and my team. Keep watching the podcasts for great educational and encouraging content. Have a great day.